Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq, with daily insight on the Nasdaq-100 index, or the NDX, which is made up of 100 of the largest domestic and international non-financial innovative companies listed right here on the Nasdaq stock market. The NDX has been the barometer for U.S. large cap growth and also one of the best performing indexes over the last decade and a half, not to mention one of the most liquid index ecosystems in the world. Joining me this afternoon, we have Nicholas Kalivas. He's a senior equity ETF strategist at Invesco to discuss weekly trends in the Nasdaq-100. Nick, welcome to Trade Talks. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Jill.
All right, and it was a good week for the Nasdaq-100, although the stock market rally broadened a bit. Let's take a look at your first chart here.
So as I look at the chart, I mean, what strikes me is it was a good week for the Qs, and you know, that was kind of overshadowed by the fact that there was broad market strength. I think as people kind of looked at some of the economic data, as they kind of thought about the pandemic and maybe some of the breakthroughs that are on the horizon, there seemed to be kind of this reaching for the market more broadly. So we saw small caps do well, we saw the S&P do well, and the NASDAQ lagged a little.
Let's take a look at the next chart here, and that shows which sectors attributed to performance and themes that we can discern from that.
Yeah, so I think the attribution chart really plays into kind of the broader strength that was present. So you can see from this, if you look at the attribution column, there was some headwinds. When you look at the financials, there's a bit of underweight to healthcare, industrials, and energy. Those sectors seem to do a little bit better. And then when we dive in a little bit more into the NASDAQ, what we see is Netflix, found some profit taking or some disappointment over its guidance. So that weighed a little bit. And then in the tech sector, there was a lot of strength in the market last week when you looked at payments, and we saw good news from IBM yesterday. And so that created a little bit of a headwind for the Qs this time around.
Our next two charts walk us through these. These drill down a bit more into the individual names, including Amazon and Netflix.
Yeah, so when we look at kind of what was very positive about contribution, I mean, you see Amazon snap back. It had a solid week. Google or Alphabet did well. So we saw that. We saw Tesla have a real good week. And so those were really positive. I thought the one thing that actually jumped out that maybe people don't watch as much is Intuitive Surgical was up quite a bit on the week, up about 12.5%, as J&J delayed its robotic surgery initiative. And so that I thought was a constructive, interesting story.
And finally, let's review year-to-date performance comparing the Nasdaq-100, S&P, and eBay and Netflix. What story is that telling?
Yeah, so I think it's just telling you that a lot of the stocks in the triple Qs have been just very, very strong. And so last week we saw Netflix set back a little bit. We saw eBay set back a little bit. But as you can see, I mean they're up over 50% on the year. Twice as much as what you've seen from the Qs, and the S&P 500 is way behind all of those. So I think what you see is just a little bit of a pause in some of the names that have done quite well, and that's not too surprising given that you have earnings and we saw maybe a broadening of the market.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take double-digit returns in just a matter of months, any day of the week. So it does make sense to take a little bit of pause here, Nick. Thanks so much for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me, Jill.
And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq.